to have a question and answer session with the audience. If you would like to depart at this time, you're more than welcome to. If you would like to stay for this Q&A session, you're more than welcome to do that as well. So anybody who wants to leave, you can do so now. Okay. Who has a question they would like to ask our panel? How many questions do we have? Raise them high. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay. All right. We'll go ahead and start over here. Please state your name.
My name is Marcus Dunn. I'm a pastor here in Anniston. My question to the panel, first of all, I heard Mr. Moore and Chief Dunn. I want to give you honor because I know the challenge being a black person went through a lot of challenges, but also being a female. So I still want to give you honor, Chief. You guys said something that was so awesome. You said training. My question in comment is this. What happened? I'm a person who was born in 1960. So I can't really talk about. My mother shared the story of what happened, racial relationship with the police officers. The horror stories, I heard them all. But in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, I was raised in Los Angeles. And the training of the police officers seemed like it was different. They had a little round wood club, and it would punch you over the head, and you probably get stitches. And they had problems. Or they had just a weapon, 38, and they would shoot somebody. And you had to go to the hospital, you know. But now I'm looking at the training now. It seems like something shifted. What type of training are they doing when you're talking about defense training? Because when I look now here in 2014, they have beat people just like the young lady in LA, that homeless lady walking the street. To sock somebody like that, who's training these officers? I seen something on video where they're kicking a young man, a white young boy, kicking him. And now when they shoot armless people without no weapon, not just one time, but they empty their weapon. So my question is it really the officers that we have problems with? Who's training them?
Go ahead.
Okay, I'd like to speak to this just for a second because I think this is really a cultural issue. And I'm going to be, I guess I'll have to politely disagree with a lot of people tonight. I hope I'm not terribly unpopular for this. But we were talking earlier about hitting children, spanking, whatever you want to call it. We live in a culture that loves punishment. And so I don't like to separate the two. I don't believe in doing that necessarily. I try not to judge other people for their parenting. I know it's very difficult. But what I can tell you, though, is two things. If you approach children this way, or anybody this way, you'll teach them to avoid you, to lie, and you'll teach them to be aggressive. So we should expect this out of people that we punish. And it's hard to separate the two between civilians getting hit, and parents who hit their children. Now, what it also does is it negatively reinforces that behavior. So if you do hit people, and you do punish people through prison system or otherwise, you should expect that you're going to do that more in the future. And so I would like to just kind of bring that up for a second, that it's very important that we address this cultural issue because as a society, our answer to every problem, seemingly now, is to punish. You know, we punish a lot of people. We incarcerate more people than any other country, and this is a serious problem. So in terms of dealing with people and training, I think this is a cultural issue that goes underneath that. And so the training that people receive or not receive is a byproduct of that central problem. And that's how I see it.
That's not going to answer my question.
I would like to add.
I'm talking to the police officers. What type of manual did they have back then in the 70s? Because they just didn't shoot people like back then. We had issues. Let me tell you, we had issues. But they would hit the person with a club or shoot them one time. This rage that police officers have now, just a rage. It's like it's a fear and rage. And that's the problem. So it's a fear of that person over there, and then there's a rage that comes with it. Just to empty your gun. Somebody don't have another weapon? That's a rage. Something's going on. Somebody's not training these officers.
I want to interject because I really want to hear from our officers about this. But I want to interject one quick thing. That what we hear about in the media is a lot of these cases, okay? I would submit that we probably have seen some improvement since the era. You made me think about Watts riots, which I've lived there about 3 years after that had occurred, so I remember this neighborhood as well. And so things are picked up by the media and exploited, similar to like child abuse cases. We hear about this incidence of child abuse. Oh, it's so horrible, and you know, workers are taking these kids out of the home, and that's not really the truth. State would prefer that people keep their kids because it costs them a lot of money they don't have, right? So it's similar that way, I would submit, about these cases about the bad police officers. I think it's a lot like Mr. Moore is talking about, that we have to be careful and screen more so that we do get more of those good guys in. But you know what the media is? They're going to pick up the bad news first, and they're going to make us believe that things are that bad. Mr. Moore?
It is that
Chief?
bad.
Well, as far as the training, I was at the academy. Birmingham has its own police academy, and I was there for a while. At one time, I was a firearms instructor. You're not trained that way. There are certain moves you are not trained to make. People bring what they learned in the street. Sometimes they bring it to the job, as has been spoken to before. Even though this situation in New York is still under investigation, I believe I heard the police commissioner say that they do not train to use a chokehold. So that was not a result of their training. So they may do things that's not a result. And if you keep in mind, when you think about police shootings and anything else, the majority of police officers probably never shoot at anybody. Majority of them don't.
And I was going to ask too, and I know this was something that was in the press release that we issued. Major cases like Rodney King, Trayvon Martin, O.J. Simpson, Eric Garner, and now Michael Brown. These cases have polarized this country. I mean, we're talking down the middle. This side over here, that side over here. How do we get away from that? How do we stop allowing these high-profile cases that the media covers? Now, mind you, I used to be a news reporter here in Calhoun County, so it's okay if you talk about me for a minute. But how do we stop allowing those cases to divide us? Because when people like Mr. Dunn see these incidences on TV of police brutality, it makes him upset, it makes the people around him upset, and it makes the country upset. And depending on who it's involved with, it separates us. So tell us, how do we try to move on from that?
I just want to interject quickly that, because I see Mr. Moore's about to tell us something I want to hear. Personally, I think that we need to be better consumers of media, just like we need to be better voters, better informed voters. We also need to be informed that if we can't impact our elected officials, we can still impact policy. We can still know what's going on and organize as citizens and demand changes like prison populations and putting people in prison just summarily, and even using prisons as mental health facilities sometimes. I think we need to be better consumers of media, because think about this: what is the benefit, and who benefits the most from the fragmentation, polarization of our society? The people who are interested and have been responsible, and just put this out there, for our economic inequality today. Now, whoever you think that is, the fact is we've got inequality today that parallels 1929. So who benefits by that kind of polarization? And when we're polarized, it keeps us from being united about the very things we ought to be united about, like having better relations, saving our children, because I do agree on that. I didn't want to misrepresent that we're just hearing about the bad cases really isn't that bad. It is bad socially, but we have to take control by being better consumers overall, better voters, and so on.
My problem still is, I want to really get an answer, because the key is this: it's becoming common now, it's becoming acceptable. They can shoot a black young person, and society is like, it's okay.
Let me say,
That is scary.
let me say
That's
this.
Very scary.
Not
something's wrong.
that this book here is what governs a police officer. And when he violates it, he should be punished the same way that we punish the average citizen. There's no reason why, and thank God for cell phones with cameras on it, because this has been going on for years. This is not new. This is not new. It's been going on for years. But now we have folks out there that are out there and letting folks know what goes on in these communities. Now, excessive force, or the use of force, if a police officer is guilty of excessive force, then he should come under the same law that we have been taking an oath to enforce. Now, in other cities and other states, we don't know what their use of force laws are. In the state of Alabama, the use of force, you don't kill folks over a misdemeanor. You don't shoot them down. No, you don't do that, because that's called excessive force. Deadly force does not meet that crime. Misdemeanor, that's not a deadly force crime. And so this same book that the state attorney general gives us every year tells us where we are supposed to be. And we come under, if we violate the law, then the law of punishment should come to us just as well as it should do any other citizen. Now, what happens in these other states is a sad commentary. You know, we have enough black on black crime in the community. Now we have blue on black crime. And so we have to, with the videos and all, we have to address those things. And those things can be addressed, just like the chief said. It's not the training. We getting the best training in the world. But when you get out there on that street, sometimes they just lose it. We just, you know, when somebody hit the ground and I'm fighting, something says stone. I don't know why that happens. But, and not as a police officer, I'm just saying when I was young and was fighting, if they hit the ground, that meant you had to do something else to them. But as a police officer, I realized that when they hit that ground, it's over. You need to be doing something else. It don't take 6 officers to subdue 1 man. And if you're going to choke him to death, I mean, if it wasn't on video, who would believe it?
So in other words, we're hearing from you today that it does not take 6 officers to subdue 1 man.
It shouldn't.
It shouldn't.
With proper training.
With proper training. You all heard it here today. It does not take 6 officers to subdue 1 man. So if you happen to see a video of 6 officers trying to subdue a man that is unarmed, correct, and in a misdemeanor situation.
Well, here's the thing.
He's retired, right?
Whatever the situation is, it doesn't necessarily have to be a misdemeanor situation, but what we've seen on video, and although that police officer knew that the chokehold was illegal, and so if that's the case, then why would you choke someone? If it's in your code, then that's just a violation of the law, and you should already know what this book says.
So you was a commander?
Yes.
So under your watch, when things like that came to your table, I know you're retired now, would you have that same
I'm
mentality?
not retired.
Okay, so what I'm saying is that you still work for the police, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so when things come across your table like that, what kind of action are you taking if you just admitted it don't take 6 officers to do
I don't
that?
think, I'm saying 6 officers and the guy dies, I mean, look at that.
When you look at TV, everything they say, officers justified. I mean, everywhere you hear.
Well,
so. And to be honest, not to get off track, you would never see all black officers beat up a white man. Have you ever seen it? Raise your hand. You won't see it. You know why? Because the white community won't stand it.
Well, you've never seen it publicly or in social media because that's not.
So who do you blame?
The social media, because
Okay.
that's not what we as a community or we as people who always watch social media and allow social media to depict what we believe. We don't necessarily want to see that. We want to see the things
You won't
that
see it.
get us riled up.
You won't see it.
So social media plays off
I'm just
of
saying the other way around, you won't see that.
Excuse me, just to interject a little bit here. Do you think that there are, and I know that.
I've got a question on that. We seem to be talking about black and white, 2 colors. The last time I can honestly say we were brothers and shoulder to shoulder was 9/11.
Right.
When somebody from another country tore down our Twin Towers, not a human being could get between you and I.
Right.
But all of a sudden, it dies out, which We should be looking at red, white, and blue instead of black and white. And teach our kids, you know, I'm Italian. You know, I come to this world, and I'm not afraid to say it. Dagos, half-breed, you know, I dealt with it. I had a sister murdered in 1975 on 3rd Avenue West. Black guy. He was on drugs. I didn't hate him or look at his color. I hated the guy that sold him to the drugs that put him in the mental situation to kill my little sister.
We need more people like you than we.
Well, that's why I want you to be like me.
That's the problem.
You have to make a stand, and it starts at home. It starts with your spouses, then your children, your neighbors, then your city, and then after that, we start building a state. We start being united. And that's what I would love to see before I leave this earth.
We are being like you. The problem is that we've been, when we had 9/11, what happened?
We were both in fear of our life. Black man.
That's
they were
right.
taking our homes.
All the responders were responding, but what were the citizens, the majority of us, told the day that happened? I watched it on the news. Go shopping. They didn't say put your flag out, which I did, by the way, the first one on my street that day, and then followed by many others around the country who followed suit, right? They didn't say, like during World War II or World War I, or even, you know, during the first Iraq War.
Exactly.
We had our signs in the newspaper, in our windows, support the war that lasted 90 days. So here we are now in 10-year plus ongoing war for peace, and we're told to be good consumers. How is that going to build camaraderie among the rest of us and put us in a place where we are not fragmented by media that seeks to divert our attention in 1,000,001 ways, and then also puts us in these positions where we're working 90 to nothing just to make ends meet? We have a question here.
Oh.
I like when young people get involved.
Do you have a question?
I'm with
You have
you.
a question?
That's what I'm
Okay.
saying.
Can you just tell us your name and what your question is, please?
My name is Stephanie Veldhausen, and my question is, because of the racial biases and also the disconnect between police officers and communities, do you believe that this could start a repeat of the civil rights era?
Tell me what school you go to.
I go to Anniston High School.
By the way, this entire group of students right here was brought here courtesy of the Anniston City School System, so we thank you. We thank them for being here.
Let me just say that I guess it still goes on. Like I said, I've been retired for a while. But part of the training with the Birmingham Police Department, it is required that they attend the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute so that they can understand the history of the area and some of the people that still live there and understand the reaction you may get. It may seem insignificant to me, something you may say or do, but somebody that lived through that era, it may kind of ignite them. So, and it's designed to bring us together to understand that if you put us side by side, we're probably going to still want the same things. We want a safe community. We want a good park where our kids can play. We want good school systems. We want a nice neighborhood.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter your color. You want that. So when we move next to each other, we need to remember that.
Exactly.
So that we won't move away and the neighborhood deteriorates. If we, you know, the old saying goes that if we don't know where we've been, we won't know where we're going. And we'll repeat those mistakes of the past. Not to hold anybody, look at anybody and say it's your fault, is that. But you realize this is where we came from. Let's not do that again. We got to learn to get together.
Can I ask you a question? What you think about the black on black crime going on among the youth today?
It's just as bad as the white on black crime.
Okay, thank you. I asked that for a reason.
Okay, we have another question, sir. Tell us what your name is and what your question is, please.
My name is Walt Frazier. I'm a real estate
Walt
agent
Frazier.
in Calhoun County. She asked a question about is there going to be civil. It has taken on a new form as far as discrimination is concerned. We got cities, states, counties now that would take away our life, liberty, and property without due process. We talk about Calhoun County here now. We got a pollution problem. bad air, bad water, bad land. And then nobody's trying to rectify that problem. They don't want to talk about it. You got a city promoting poison. I mean, we have, and you got a highway system, an eastern bypass and a western bypass that don't even parallel each other. I mean, what we got are self-made problems. And don't nobody want to talk about it. All they want to do is just kind of put the issue on the side. I mean, city, county, state, everybody in the nation. Just to get a conversation about how you clean up your community. I mean, the real way. Not tell somebody that you got this on your land, that's your baby. I mean, they didn't do it. They can't sell it. The children don't need to live on it. It's just an awful, awful situation. You talking about a civil penalty? We've been doomed for life here in Calhoun County.
Mr. Fredo, I just want to ask this real quick. How do you think that relates to police and citizens' relations and trying to improve the relationship between the two?
The economic disparities that you have. Real estate is your biggest asset. When it's been reduced to zero, and then you don't have any jobs either, how you going to ever make any progress?
Okay, well, panelists, take it away.